2022 had some amazing entries to the Universal Gaming Catalog, but the two most awarded by far are Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok. These are two entries in a series that I've grown very endeared to over the past couple of years, and I'm excited for both releases. And after a year of discourse over which one is better, from low-end back-alley sources like Metacritic and the Game Awards, it's finally time for me, the most trustworthy and renowned critic in the biz, to step in and give you the real answer. Today, I'm giving you a full review on God of War Ragnarok and Elden Ring. The combat, music, gameplay, world building, lore, visuals, and performances will all be severely analyzed to make sure you exit this video with only the best opinions. Right out of the gate, both games have incredible openings. The chase through the woods with Freya immediately throws you right back in the story of God of War and never stops the momentum. The fight with Bjorn, flashback to Faye, and the introduction of Thor and Odin all in the span of 2 hours. Already in this scene, all characters are established. Thor's huge figure and nonchalant demeanor intimidates. The second Odin steps in, he controls the room with his persuasive tone, and even though he merely looks like a frail old man, you can sense his influence and power radiating from his performance. Atreus listens and analyzes every word that is said to try to figure the best course of action. And Kratos sits in silence, intimidated and influenced by no one. He knows who he is and what to do. Ultimately, Ragnarok is a game about characters. Freyr, Sif, Thor, Thrud, Heimdall, Brock, Sindri, Tyr, Angrboda, Freya, Mimir, Odin, Atreus, and Kratos. I could hand out 6 Oscars to this game for character performances alone. I'll let you guess which characters I'm talking about in the comments. Elden Ring also has an amazing opening, but more Breath of the Wild amazing than The Last of Us amazing. You come out of the Shrine of Resurrection, and you're met with a massive open world with so many places to explore. My first reaction was, and I quote, "I can't wait to explore every inch of this map." My favorite part about the game is the open world. There are huge towering structures that I've only dreamed of venturing in a video game before this came out. Look at this awesome fucking castle. And look at this super badass castle. And look at this one too. Now look at this shit. These are all places you can go to. How crazy is that? When you walk out of Stormvale after beating Godric and look down at the huge landscape, you are absolutely floored by its beauty. You are thinking, I need to be down there right now. I'd love to go through and list every gorgeous location in here, but then this video would be 3 hours long because there are literally hundreds. Play Elden Ring, stop at any moment in the game, and screenshot your screen. That screenshot could be a painting sold on the open market for $13. There's so many diverse biomes filled with structures and enemies, making the world feel lived in. Although, the castles and buildings around the world that you can explore in don't feel expansive enough. You'll come across a cool looking heavily guarded fort in the forest, and it'll take you a while to get in, but then once you do, it's like a big courtyard with a chest up top. Some of the in-game locations are a slight letdown once you see how small they really are. This white castle that I can't find the name of on any website looks like it could be half of Dark Souls, but there are only 2 bosses. Yes, there's a lot of content in this castle, but I thought there was going to be more, you know? I love exploring this vast world because once I get to places like this, I want to come out a different person. But it's more like an elongated detour. Granted, I still fucking love the castle. It's got a lot of fun stuff to do, but I wanted more fun stuff to do. There's a lot of little hidden locations in here that will surprise you, but nothing game-changing. I wish more time would have been spent balancing out the more compact Eternal content than the landscape and nature. I know I sound like a pretentious asshole right now because you might think the same argument could be made against my favorite game, Breath of the Wild, but it actually can't. I feel like importing the Soulsborne character structure into an open world game sounds fun, but when a lot of what you're doing is exploring, the janky-ass movement takes away the immersion quick. It works when you're running into enemies every 2 seconds, but not when you're trying to hike up a mountain. I feel that a more fluid and natural stature is needed for a game like this. Speaking of movement, let's check out the improvement of traversal from God of War to Ragnarok, huh? The second game is a lot faster paced than the first in a lot of ways. God of War's method of traversal was mostly boat and climbing, rather than Ragnarok's, which is by grapple hook and dog sled. Climbing and boating gave players a lot of time to catch their breath and relax, while the characters talked and gave exposition. Not a lot of things happen in the first game, but it takes its time telling the story, which makes the game 25 hours long. It lets you marinate in the detailed world it's built. In Ragnarok, no time is wasted. When there's somewhere to go, you go the fast or not at all. Go big or go home, bitch. A million events happen at one time, There's so many more characters and locations and things that happen, its priority is telling you this kick-ass story. You can explore the world later. Also, there's a part in the game where you're on the skyboat being overrun by a bunch of bad guys, and it seems like there's no escape. But then everything goes silent, and the camera focuses on this one random-ass guy we've never met in our goddamn life. And at first I was like, what the fuck is going on? Who is this person? Did I miss something? And then he starts walking by all the main characters, and then lunges off the boat into a bird, sacrificing himself, and all the characters are devastated, while I'm sitting here on my ass wondering why. Why the hell was this part directed like that? I'm so confused, and it makes no sense, but I love it. He ends up being alive anyway, so it legitimately didn't matter at all.
I can't believe you survived that fall. How'd you do it?
I rolled. Talk later.
But anyways, as I was saying, God of War Ragnarok is an untouchable masterpiece. Well, motherfucker. Look who stuck around for part 2. I'm surprised a snowflake like you didn't get brutally offended by the boiling hot takes in the first part of the video, but now we're in part 2. And I don't fuck around in part 2. So I'll finally say what I've been holding back from saying the whole video. Elden Ring's combat is super mid. The people who make arguments on Twitter glorifying Elden Ring's combat, especially against God of War's, are delusional. The fighting is good, but it's too simple and repetitive for me not to run by any enemies when I get the chance. The enemy design, on the other hand, is genius, and how much variety there is between them all is mind-blowing, and it makes encounters a lot more fresh. But the character's combat moveset is severely limited by the dodge and hit method. I know there's magic you can do too, but I need more than that to be entertained. I don't have fun just running around and attacking once there's an opening every 5 minutes. I find God of War's combat to be far more enjoyable. They took the combat from the original and improved every aspect. There's so many attack styles and moves that makes you want to approach every enemy you see and battle them for fun. No other game I can think of that I've played has fighting that makes me want to encounter enemies just to fight them. You can switch between 3 different weapons for different effects and runics, and now you can hit after jumping off the ledges to grapple. The combat is so much more accessible. There's also so many chances to fight enemies in here, and they've drastically increased the enemy variety up from the first. Now you can travel to all 9 realms, and in almost each there's a different enemy type. Not only that, there's also so much you can do in each realm, except for Jotunheim and Helheim. Across every realm, there are countless beautiful scenery and views that you can't help but to stop your endless hunt for Odin's ravens to look at. Valheim is easily my favorite, because it's already huge with tons of fun content, but there's a whole nother section you can unlock, even more boss fights and side missions. It will take you forever to 100% the game, but it is worth it because the endgame content is so good. That's right, I beat, collected, and discovered everything in the whole game. The first game I've ever fully completed, and it was amazing. Elden Ring side content is also a lot of fun, but I definitely didn't do everything I could. Compared to everything they have to offer, you don't actually have to do much to beat the game. In total, with repeats, there are 148 bosses in Elden Ring. Many of them being repeats, but I mean, you take what you can get, right? That's 148 different fights, which is insane. There's also 36 side quests, but I've only ever done 2. 2? 2, you're thinking? I know, I'm not using my $60 to the fullest, but the second one I've done was 8 fucking hours long. I counted because it took me 2 goddamn days. In one side quest, I unlocked 4 new locations, which is the only reason I would ever do a side quest in this game. The Elden Ring map is huge and detailed and one of my favorite worlds to ever explore. There's so much to do, but as far as lore and storyline goes, there's not much of it. Actually, I take it back. Sorry. You could probably write 200 novels on the Elden Ring lore because there's so much shit in here. What I meant was that there's not a lot of story up front. One cutscene plays at the start of the game giving you the origin of Elden Ring, and then that's about it, apart from Malena or a boss explaining something to you every 10 hours. To find out more, you've got to read random texts, hear it from random NPCs, or look it up online. But why the hell would I do that if I don't actually care what the lore is? If the game never forcefully makes me watch scenes or tells me actually interesting story shit that will captivate me, why would I be curious to find out more? God of War Ragnarok is almost the exact opposite. The story is the best part, and for good reason. You could write 200 novels on just the main plot. It's constantly barraging with cool shit so that your attention span never wavers. I see YouTube videos of things that happen in the game that I completely forgot happened because there's so many big moments. The gist is that Ragnarok is coming, and Atreus is Loki. And Loki is connected to Ragnarok somehow, but he doesn't know yet. So he tries to figure it out behind Kratos' back by finding Tyr. But then Odin finds out Ironwood, which is Jotunheim, by sending Thor to beat him on the boat, and also fights Atreus to ask. Then there's huge Kratos jumps, and then they fight a grammar for another go to rock dies. Fuck it. The story's amazing, trust me. There's so many ups and downs and twists. It's a constant thrill ride with so many boss fights and big moments that makes the times where you sit down and take a breath of fresh air that much more rewarding. The story is also complemented by one of the greatest video game soundtracks in history. This track's full of chilling, badass scores that makes this game that much more superior. I like to think of the Norse God of War duology as a two-part series rather than a first and second game. Actually, a four-part series. The first part in God of War and the last three in Ragnarok. And together, they make one of the best stories ever told in a medium. Well, here we are. Part 3. The end. Every good story comes in threes. Mario, Thor, Fortnite, the original God of War trilogy, and now here we are, the part you've watched the whole video for. While Elden Ring has a lack of straightforward meaning behind the madness and an outdated combat system, the astonishingly expansive open world with thousands of breathtaking landmarks and hidden locations overpower, making this From Software title a must-play. Elden Ring earns itself a solid B+. God of War Ragnarok improves all aspects of the first game and masters every category there is I can use to grade video games. Its ambitious story passes the test with flying colors, securing its spot as an A.